Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of March 15th. I will call this meeting to order, and I would ask that those able that join us and we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Superintendent Amber Bach. I'd like to begin by notifying everyone in the room with us tonight that this meeting is being recorded by Westborough TV. Thank you, Westborough TV. School committee meetings are available for remote viewing or listening on Westborough TV's government channels, Verizon 28 and Charter 129, and online at the Westborough TV YouTube channel. A recording of this meeting will be posted on Westborough YouTube channel. Thank you to Westborough TV for covering for us tonight. Welcome again to everybody who's viewing from home or in the room with us. I would like to begin by welcoming two new school committee members to our board. Sarah Shamsuddin, down on my left. Welcome, Sarah. And I'm right down here, Yakub Moskal. Congratulations on your win to become new school committee members. I would like to also acknowledge that it was really exciting to see so many members of our community step up to run for office. Westborough is a unique and really vibrant community, and one of the things we're often talking about is that people don't volunteer anymore. And I'm like, actually, we had contested races and people that wanted to give to the community, and it just really speaks to the quality of Westborough that you have all of these organizations and planning board and all of this, yourselves included in this room sitting on either side of me, who give the time and energy to serve your community. So as we begin tonight, I just want to acknowledge the quality of democracy and the work that took place in our community, and we welcome two new members, and we want to thank them for stepping up to serve their town. I will let the first action be, if we look at our agenda tonight, if you want to pull it up for me so I can see it. We will move into the other actionable items of the agenda after we elect a new chair. The first action tonight, given that we've had a change in the school committee, I'm just reading my notes, is that we need to call for the election of a new chair, as Lisa Edinburgh is now a citizen again. So I would like to see if we could receive a motion for a chair, please.
Sure, I can do that. I'd like to make a motion to have Steve Durrett serve as our chair.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second for Steve Durrett as chair of the school committee. Is there discussion?
Yes. Just something I'd like to mention, that Steve has, as we learned, 19 years of experience on the school committee. He's served as chair before, and I look forward to his leadership.
All right, other comments, thoughts?
I'd like to echo those comments that we can't go wrong with the sort of leadership and experience that that Mr. Durrett would be able to provide as chair of this committee.
All right, any further discussion? All right, can I have a vote, please? All in favor? Aye. All right, unanimous. You can vote for yourself. It demonstrates your willingness to sit in the chair yet again. So moved. All right, so we have a newly elected chair for the school committee. Congratulations, and thank you, Steve Durrett, for stepping up to serve. I will hand it over to you and return to my other seat. And I believe at that time, then the next action, I will leave it to you, would be to call for a new vice chair. And I will turn it over to you to do so.
Thank you, and thanks for your comments. It's been a long time since I have been in the chair. I think it was the first year that Amber was here. And so I've been hiding on the end of the table here for a long time. So the next order of business is to call for a nomination for the vice chair of the school committee. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to move and nominate my colleague, Ms. Vincent, as vice chair of the school committee.
And I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion or comments? Well, as we know, Kristen served as the chair for a couple of years, I think. And so as a result, she's certainly able to perform this duty, and particularly if I'm not here, one never knows. So with that, if there aren't any other comments? Don't see any. All those in favor of Kristen as the chair, vice chair of the school committee? 5-0, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as the chair of the school committee, I welcome everybody here tonight, both as on this side of the table as well as in the audience. Today is Wednesday, March 15th, and as a result, since Amber has called the committee to order, and we have done the Pledge of Allegiance, and notified the attendees as well as the people watching tonight on television that this is being live streamed and recorded by Westborough TV. And as a result, the information is available on Verizon 28 in Charter 192, and online Westborough TV YouTube channel. And we thank Westborough TV for covering the broadcast tonight. We have on our left, my left, Superintendent Amber Bach, Assistant Superintendent Daniel Mayer, the Director of Finance David Gordon, Kristen, as you know, and the remaining members of the school committee, Steve Batchelor on my left, Jacob Moskal on my right, and Sarah Samsudin on my far left in the chair that I've just vacated. Our student representative is Aratrika Ghosh, and Jen Benton is our recording secretary. So our agenda tonight is as follows. As you've seen, the call to order and the reorganization of the school committee. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for February the 15th, a regular session, and March 1st of a regular session as well. Is there a motion for those minutes?
So moved.
And that's both?
Yes, for both.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yep, I can second that.
Any discussion on approval of the minutes?
I just want to say to our new members that you're welcome to abstain because you weren't a part of those meetings, so it's not anything you need to feel like you need to approve.
On the other hand, if you've read them.
You've read them
may
and you
have,
want to.
You're welcome to vote on them.
Yep.
So the approval of minutes has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. It's 5-0. At this point in time, we ask for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. It's nice to be over here in my seat again. I feel much more comfortable.
Brings you above water.
It's a taller seat, if nothing else. So welcome, everybody, and I have a couple updates tonight. Again, Daniel will give in his report an update to the weather having gotten in the way of our professional development day. He'll speak about that. I want to thank everybody who kind of managed that smoothly. I want to also remind people that the high school needs to remember that they have 2 additional days to make up due to the fire that we suffered in the fall. I also want to give a shout out to the recovery from that, and the completion of the reno looks wonderful, and it seems a distant memory that we had a fire, which is so serious, and now we will have to remember in June that we pay back those days. I also want to make a note, I was supposed to attend the Westborough Women's Club to be able to do a presentation on the state of the union of the schools and to share with them an update on how we're recovering and returning over the last several years. Snow canceled that, so actually I'm going tomorrow. I look forward to presenting to them a lot of photo kind of montage around what life in schools is looking like, provide some updates on highlights around things taking place across the district and then take any questions. From there, one of the other important announcements as we prepare for town meeting, David and I went and did a video on the budget, which we had spoken about, that instead of doing a parent night, I have presented at Civic Club, Rotary Club. Again, I'll be visiting Women's Club with a little bit of a different focus, and we presented at the Senior Center. So making ourselves available across the district to talk about the budget that's coming forward. And so we decided that to access parents on a much wider array of flexibility, we would do a short video on the budget. So Dave and I are now Westborough TV worthy. We got over there and did a video, and so they'll be pushing that out. We'll send that to our parents, I anticipate tomorrow. From there, I think for me, those are the other major updates for now, and I have much to present when we get to the budget. That's it for tonight.
Thank you, Amber. Assistant Superintendent report.
Yeah, good evening. As Amber indicated, I wanted to update you on what we're dealing with the Professional Development Day that was canceled this week. Obviously, that is an event that it takes months of planning and contracting with different people to engage with our faculty. And you know, we want to do what is least disruptive and yet best for to make up for the day, and so we're considering our options at this point. We obviously do not want to extend the school year if we don't have to. We put that out as a distinct possibility, depending upon how the booking goes with some of we have 2 outside speakers that were supposed to be a part of that professional development day. Their availability is very limited at this point. There's about 4 days that I have both in April and May where one of the 2 individuals who's a very, effective professional development speaker, and he would do an amazing job with our faculty, trying to plug that in and make sure that we're not disrupting the lives of the families and the kids is what we're doing at this stage. So there's a back and forth between Novak Associates is the company where that we've been working with on the UDL initiative, the Universal Design for Learning initiative. And we, in the process, have to be looking at MCAS scheduling. MCAS starts in March and also takes place in April. There are field trips that are happening, and there's no shortage of opinions of how, when we should book this and how we should do it. The emails have been fast and furious.
I think it's a balance between faculty and parents who are offering up creative solutions.
There are lots of creative solutions. So believe me when when I say that we're like looking to maximize the impact in terms of the professional development and minimize the disruption for the school year. And we anticipate that within 2 or 3 days we'll have like a clear plan in terms of what we're doing, but I can't really tell you what that is at this point.
Well, when we do get that finalized, we'll put out hopefully by Friday, if we're fortunate to have it done, a communication on timing so that everybody gets it, parents and faculty and students.
Yep.
So, but we do appreciate the feedback from everyone. It's been, we prefer when people email us and engage with us and ask, their questions. And so it's been really nice. We haven't gotten any from kids. That's the avenue where it gets really entertaining, but they also have many creative ideas. So we look forward to resolving it and keeping a robust PD day.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. David.
Thank you. Just a brief update. First, I wanted to congratulate and welcome new school committee members. So congratulations and welcome. I also want to say thank you to Superintendent Bach for being my co-anchor on the budget presentation video. Our hope is that it's to your liking. So for 2 first-time actors, we'll see how it goes. Just a quick update on transportation. I just wanted to, based on the fact that NRT was last week, we are staying in contact with them, working with not only NRT, but our school staff as to how it relates to all forms of transportation, whether it's the vans, minibuses, big yellow buses, sports, things of that nature. So right now there's a little bit of a hyper focus on spring sports and making sure some of those after school charter type buses are available. And our athletic director has put together a list, so we're going to communicate that to NRT and then ensure that they have drivers in the bench available for those sports. That's where we're at right now. That email has been sent to NRT. I'm going to actually escalate it to the two gentlemen that were here and two other people that are part of the NRT leadership to ensure that we get communication and confirmation that they are owning the responsibility via the contract to be able to provide ridership for our sports and athletics. So I will keep everybody abreast. I just wanted to let you know those communications are ongoing. And professionally saying so, we are not backing down on this. That's it. Thank you.
Very good. Next on the agenda is school committee member reports, and I'll start with Astrika.
I just have a couple updates for today. I wanted to start off by congratulating the girls hockey team in partnership with the Shrewsbury girls hockey team to advancing to the D1 MIAA state finals. I also wanted to congratulate the team of Brendan Martin, Timothy Tylick, Alan Nugent, and Ben Verizon, all WHS seniors, on placing 6th at the New Balance Nationals track competition.
Very impressive.
Congratulations to both teams. I also want to recognize that MCAS is starting soon. I know at the high school it's on March 28th and the 29th, and it might be different times for the other schools, but definitely keep a lookout for that. And scholarship deadlines are coming up for juniors and seniors at the high school as well. So if you are planning to apply, go ahead and check out the WHS counseling websites to find all of the deadlines and resources. Lastly, just a couple of fun events. The National Honor Society induction is taking place at 6 p.m. on April 8th to induct the new class of NHS members at Westborough. And tomorrow, 3 to 6 p.m. after school, there is a dodgeball game fundraiser to benefit the class of 2024. Thank you.
We also had a very successful lip sync. I couldn't go, I had a conflict, but I hear that it
so
was
fun.
Quite the event. I saw some of the clips.
Did you see the costumes? That's.
Well, I did see Mr. Callahan's Country Road rendition, and he was pretty proud of his country outfit, so.
All I'm going to say is go to the Lobby Observer, and it should be all there.
Yeah, it was very, very, very fun, so. Nice to have. When did you say they're doing National Honor Society?
It is 6 p.m. on April 8th. That's the induction.
Thank you. A Saturday? Doesn't feel right. I got to check that date. Okay. I mean, not that it isn't lovely that they would do it on a Saturday, but I think they usually do it in the evening. All right. Thank you.
Jacob, your turn. Excuse me, Jakub.
Don't worry.
Well, I think it translates though to Jacob, doesn't it?
Jacob or James, actually.
Yeah. Good.
Well, I obviously have nothing to report yet. Just want to say thank you for voting for me to everybody in town, and I'm honored to be here, and I hope to serve well.
Very good, thank you. Kristen?
I just want to welcome our new school committee members. I look forward to working with you and getting to know you better. And that's it.
Good. Steve?
Yeah, a few things to update. First, I'd like to welcome the two newest members to the committee. Happy to have you here and look forward to working with you. And then I have a few CPAC updates. I want to first thank the members of the Westborough English Language Parent Advisory Council for welcoming members of CPAC to their meeting last Monday, and I look forward to future collaborations. And then CPAC has a couple events coming up. On March 22nd, we're having an informal meet and greet. And then on April 15th, we'll have our second annual municipal touch-a-truck sensory-friendly event, which was a big success last year. It's at Hastings at 11 a.m., so save the date, April 15th. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Sarah?
I obviously have nothing to report yet, but I want to thank everyone as well for giving me this opportunity to serve the community. Thank you.
Very good. So in my case, I'll report now on the building project update, and I'm very pleased to announce that, in fact, we finally got approval from the Department of DOER, the Department of Energy, in regards to the solar credits relative to Phil's school. We started this whole process, 2 years ago, and became, I guess, the application became current in approximately March of last year. And we have struggled with all of the steps and many other things in the process to get the point where we are. At this point, it's my understanding that the school system will be paid 19 cents for every kilowatt hour that we generate into the network. And the value, of course, of the energy, the solar energy that we use for the school is minimally worth at least 15 cents as well. So that the value of this system for the town and for the school department as well is quite significant. And then finally, because of the way the rules are written relative to solar energy, that besides those payments, when it's then converted into dollar credits, that the dollar credits to the school department then can be assigned to other meters within National Grid, and in particular meters that are either other schools or other schools we have, or other entities that we pay electric energy for. So we, in the school department, will be able to take advantage of the solar generation that's created there. The second thing, and I think that I mentioned it perhaps at the last meeting, is that finally the geothermal system is online and performing properly after that long struggle. We have a school building committee meeting this Thursday in the afternoon, and its purpose is to try to get to the point where we can reach settlement with all the players in terms of outstanding payments on contracts and who's due what. So that's very good. At this point, Amber, do you want to speak to where we are on the bids for the projects? And I can.
Why don't we, let's see, why don't we do it when we do the town meeting update, because it's preparation for town meeting warrant articles. Let's do it then.
Okay, at this point, it's time for citizens' requests. And I will read our statement in terms of the process for the audience here. First of all, is there anybody here who would like to speak? Okay, we have two members of the audience that would like to. As a reminder, we have policy regarding citizens' requests. Some important pieces of this policy include that you must be a current resident of Westborough. Speakers are allowed to address the school committee about issues within the school committee's purview, Westborough School District policy or budget. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak to the school committee. Written comments longer than 3 minutes may be presented to the presiding chair before or after the meeting, and you're welcome to hand me additional comments in writing now or send them via email, and I will share them with the other school committee members. A public comment by residents at this meeting is not a discussion, a debate, or dialogue between the individuals in the school committee. It is an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues within the school committee's authority. Our role is to listen carefully to what you have to share with us tonight and actually any other time as well. Clapping, cheering, calling out, or any other noise following a speaker is not allowed. A reminder that if not following the policy, this may cut into your time that you're allowed, which, as I said before, is 3 minutes. Additionally, I want to remind members of the school committee that when making a point of order, please address your concerns to the chair initially rather than to the speaker. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to make a statement to the school committee? And if so, please come forward, and I'll recognize Boyd first and you gentlemen later, unless you're both coming together. Thank you, Boyd. Please give your your name and your address for the record.
Boyd Conklin, 8 Water Street.
Thanks.
School Committee and School Administration, Westborough. The burden placed on schools today is greater than ever in a time of global pandemic. Students and schools have been hit with a second pandemic that greatly concerns parents, the pandemic of gender dysphoria. This pandemic has been promoted in recent years by the powerful gender industry, composed of pharmaceutical companies, doctors, hospitals, and nonprofit associations that profit from medically transitioning children and youth. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the pandemic of dysphoria by forcing kids into isolation and online, where they're quickly told by social media sources that the reason they feel sad, lonely, anxious, or different is because their body is wrong. The burdens of this pandemic have placed schools in a position to treat and diagnose a medical condition which is beyond their scope of expertise. The dangers of treating this condition incorrectly are devastating and can lead to lifelong medical as well as psychological damage. This should not be a burden shouldered by schools, nor are schools equipped to bear the liability for negative outcomes. Guidance coming from union, state, and federal levels on this issue is contrary to the latest medical research based on long-term studies in Sweden, Finland, and the UK. See attached bibliography. In fact, the only evidence that medical transition solves any mental health problem comes from faulty and biased studies published by those who directly or indirectly benefit from promoting false information. The guidance currently issued to many schools is based on ideology rather than science. Ideology has no place in public schools in a country with separation of church and state. Similar to other religious beliefs, the idea that a child can choose his or her sex has no basis in science. As you well know, gender dysphoria has become a social contagion. It is important to understand that the students most vulnerable to this condition are those who are already fragile. Research has shown that students with autism, spectrum disorders, mental health issues, trauma, and other health issues are the majority of the students with gender dysphoria. While playing with identity may seem harmless for neurotypical adolescents, exposure to this idea through other students, gay, straight alliance clubs, and health curricula puts already fragile students at risk. It is your responsibility to protect all students, whether they are neurotypical or suffer from depression, anxiety, autism, or other issues in the school environment. The following are steps I ask you to put into school policy to protect all students in this district. Immediately alert a child's parents of any request from a child or peers to call a student by pronouns that do not align with their biological sex and or any name other than their legal name. Follow parents' direction on how to proceed with their child. This must include both parents in case of separation or divorce. Please do not ask children their preferred pronouns, but address all children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you. I'm Joe Considine. I'm at 10 Smith Street in Westborough. And first of all, congratulations, Steve, as the new chair, and congratulations, Jacob and Sarah, for volunteering the opportunity to volunteer your time. And I know it's all volunteer, but I appreciate all of you on the school committee for the volunteer that you make. I come tonight with a list of 3 goals for the school committee to consider. I believe that the goals as published on your website are very important because they should drive the behavior and the top-level activities of this school district. This is partially a repeat of my request in December, so I hope the new chair and committee will seriously consider my request. I do have copies of all these goals, but I'm going to read them, and after each goal, I'm going to say why do I believe that's important. The first new suggested goal is a renewed focus on in-person learning with special attention to children that experienced educational, social, emotional, and behavioral gaps after 2.5 years of learning constrained by COVID restrictions, remote learning. Why is this important? As was reported by Daniel in the November meeting, the grade 3 to 8 ELA reading scores dropped by 12 points in the last 3 years to the lowest point in many years, which ranked us number 13 of 16 of the towns that are in the comparison group. And also, I want to thank Amber and Daniel for taking the opportunity to invite me to meet with you on this issue. It was very educational for me, in particular for pointing out that the lower income children were impacted the most by this. So reversing this trend needs to be a high priority, and that's why I'd like to see it be a stated goal of the committee. Number 2 is diversity, equity, and inclusion should be replaced with diversity, equal opportunity to achieve excellence and inclusion. We should never sacrifice excellence in the name of equity. After a race is won, it is not productive to count up the number of people that look a certain way and make sure that we award enough winners in each category. If there are disparities, it is far better for all concerned to encourage and support individuals that are underachieving so they can advance on a path towards achieving excellence on their own and remove any and all barriers that may be in their way. Number 3 is use benchmarks such as MCAS scores to drive a process of a continual improvement. Why important? 4 years ago, the committee goals listed a goal that talks about benchmarks for comparison of our performance to other communities, but that was removed 4 years ago, and unfortunately, the benchmark performance has declined in those past 3 years. So I ask that the benchmarks return to the list of highest priorities. So I hope you all take my inputs very seriously. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have copies of this that I'll distribute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the appointments. And what I'd rather do tonight is make everybody aware of the appointments that are available, if you will, for the work of the school committee that we do when not in session here. And having said that, I've seen a copy of it. Did everybody else get a copy of what we do in terms of appointments?
The memo on yes, they should all have, and Daniel can pull it up, the school committee subcommittee work that we need to rotate. So Daniel will open it up there. For edification of everyone watching or new or having not remembered, we have a rotation of committees that come into being based upon the work of the town, the requests of things that we need to fold into as a committee, and then some are standing committees that we've had for years and years. We also then have our negotiation teams, which are also part of what we have to cover through subcommittee work. So when you look at these, you'll see that we've highlighted the ones where we have to have replacements. You can choose to bump these around. You don't have to necessarily sign on tonight, but it's important that that you lead a discussion around looking at what those are and maybe let people ask questions, and then you guys can think about them and you could fill them at your next meeting, really your choice. But we do need to move forward on all of them to make sure that we have people to plug into that work.
So what I would offer is that Kristen, Steve, and I maintain the current committees that we, or assignments that we have, pending, let's say, anybody wants to give up something and move to something else. In the meantime, Sarah and Jacob have a look at the whole list, and by the next meeting, if you could send me an email of what you're interested in so that we can have, I guess, a free-for-all discussion at our next meeting, and then vote on appointments to those committees.
And that sounds like a good idea, Steve. I would say maybe one of the things I could do, or people serving on the committee could do, would just give you a little snippet about the amount of time for each of these, just so you have a picture of it. So if I may, Chair,
Please
I
do.
would. So the Joint Labor Management Committee is a standing committee where we meet with representatives of the different units, and it's a relationship-centered committee where what we work on is discussing any items where faculty need us to iron things out. It's a very collaborative, focused group. The objective goal is that it implements the contract, it implements relationships, it looks at climate. It is the place where questions and concerns surface and are talked about from the collaboration team, and then resolutions are designed working collaboratively together. Daniel and I are longstanding members on that committee, along with the representatives you see. I would say it meets once a month, and then it's also crisis-oriented. If we had
First
something.
Tuesday of every month.
First Tuesday of every month. Not that we couldn't move that if somebody came on to the committee and needed a different day and time, but it's usually during the school day. It's around 3:30. And we usually finish by 5. So I would say it's an enjoyable collaboration. It helps you get to know faculty, and you get the rhythm for kind of the things that are anxiety-oriented for people. Policy Subcommittee, it meets as needed, and it tends to circulate around a couple of meetings where you need to come together, read policy, make some decisions, and then bring it back here to the school committee. And I think currently it's always the chair and typically the vice. It doesn't have to be, but it might need to be Kristen, but time-wise we could change it up. I don't know that it's a hard and fast rule that it has to be the chair and the vice, but that's the purpose of that committee. Andrea Macknick, my assistant, does a very good job to frame for you what the guidance is from the MASC and our legal counsel. So it's not a lot of heavy lifting, but when it kicks in, you got to pay attention, do the reading, and bring forward recommendations. Not all on your own, but you need to bring the voice back to the committee and provide a directive. The
I
other,
would just want to interject here. On the next
Yeah.
one, the Supervision and Evaluation Committee is not currently Ragu, it's Steve Batchelor. And Steve, since you just joined it, unless you're looking to be off of it. Okay, I think that's just a correction we didn't make. So there's no open seat there.
so that actually
So then
would be
we
helpful.
move
So
the
then,
page.
right, okay. And then the other one would be Sustainable Westborough, where we need a new member. Sustainable Westborough is a subcommittee that works to provide support to the implementation of the Climate Action Plan, the Town Master Plan, and areas where the schools as major energy users and members of the larger community participate in trying to implement that plan. It's usually monthly, and a very targeted agenda, a strong committee, and actionable work that needs to be carried out. I think the last one is the Athletic Fields Project. I think that committee, we can effectively say is not needing to be activated right now. I mean, Steve is the standing member. I don't think we need to fill that one, Steve. I think we could leave it open. We're currently working to resolve a repair to the edge of the field, and that's more litigation-based and collaboration. I don't think we need a committee right now, do you? Okay.
No, but
So we can
obviously
leave that
I'll
as
continue
stands.
to participate.
And the Transportation Subcommittee, that again, that's an active committee and an important one for somebody who can attend Zoom meetings what are they, monthly?
Depends, bi-weekly to monthly on the transportation.
And that's a subcommittee of the Transportation Company, David, Cindy Crowley, Transportation Coordinator, and then a school committee person. That's an important committee. You're hearing what we're talking about with the Transportation Company, coordination issues, and again, one where you can figure out the rhythm of what it is to have a major infrastructure piece of the district kind of running. I think that's it for now. Given that we just finished the vast majority of negotiations moving to completion, it's a good time to be signing up for committees because we've all been meeting regularly, so we're glad those are done. So if you study those, if you have any questions about any of them, I would have you call other committee members, and you should be able to rotate. You could also email or Steve if you have questions, or Kristen, and we'll go from there.
And
All right.
also, I think too that there's another update that needs to be made for the stipend committee. I think Stephen Batchelor was, are you on the stipend committee now?
I don't think he is. I thought Lisa was.
I'm on sick bank.
Oh, you're on sick bank.
Not yet.
Did you,
Well, sick bank has Steve and Kristen.
no, but stipend committee.
Right, I'm looking for the
Has me,
stipend
but
committee.
Daniel, didn't Stephen Batchelor go to the stipend? No, am I wrong?
I don't see this, where's the
I'm not on it, and I
stipend?
don't know, sorry.
Oh, there it is, stipend.
Oh, I am
committee.
on the stipend committee.
You
I was
are.
thinking about something
You are,
else.
down at the
Sorry.
bottom. That's
I was
okay.
thinking it was something else. My
Like you
bad.
said, why don't we all consider it during this period? And
I'm
anybody
on
who
it.
has an
That's
interest in these,
fine.
we
I
can
get
talk
it.
about it.
All right.
Got it.
I think it's important as you join the committee, we're not trying to overwhelm you, but it's also important to realize that a lot of the work that happens that drives the district is in all of this subcommittee work that goes on and, plugs you into all of that. So, all right, that is it. Back to you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is town meeting preparation.
All right, couple of highlights. You're a week, less than a week out, really, week and a half from town meetings, so Saturday, the 25th. And so objective-wise, a couple things that I want to talk with you about tonight. I'm currently working with David to develop our PowerPoint for the budget presentation, should a question be called, and I'll send that to you. We'll send that to you next week to review and give feedback on. It's really good to look at that with fresh eyes and feel like if it tells the story of the budget for somebody who literally is looking at it for the first time versus people who've been tracking with us the whole time and their questions are usually answered. But you really have to have a presentation that's available and flexible. So I'll send that to you next week. I will be attending FinCom on the 23rd. They want to discuss our capital articles further, and I want to talk about them here with you tonight with Steve's help. We meet ahead of time in an open meeting. When you go to town meeting, we will open a meeting about a half hour before town meeting. I'll send you information next week to the whole board. We'll post that meeting. We meet in the library at the high school. We open the meeting formally, open with minutes, and make sure that we're prepared to go down and join town meeting. It lets us answer last minute questions. And then as a group, we tend to head down and sit down front on the right. Kind of tradition of structure. I think other than that, there's nothing else you need to know that won't come to you via emails and things. Hastings, we have 3 articles. The budget stands as we presented it. We haven't been asked to make any further revisions. I think the fact that our 4.1% is inclusive of all our contracts that we had to negotiate and stabilizes the current implementation of the district is a very strong budget. We have, however, 3 capital articles, and we need to talk about Hastings. We have a position that we've held, an article where we've been waiting for a bid. We're supposed to crack the bid on Monday, the 20th, and have a hard number that can be awarded that we want to then bring to town meeting. Subcontractor bids were opened on Friday, end of last week, and we received no bids on the subcontracts that needed to happen first. Then contractors typically look at the subcontractor estimates and they pull those into their overall estimate and bid the project. And they give you a hard number. It's going to be 5 million. It's going to be whatever the number is. So the problem we're facing is that the lead times are blown up like you can't even believe in terms of getting product to do the job, and along with cost escalations. But to have not received bids on the subcontractors means that the bid on Monday, the 20th, won't be a solid, hard number, and that's what we guaranteed, that we wanted an awardable contract with a set number that would get it done. We cannot go back into town meeting. It would certainly be my recommendation that we do not want to go back into town meeting with a general number that's estimate of cost for all those subcontracts. Even if we got a bid on Monday, they think we probably won't get any bids because we're missing the subcontractor numbers. If we get a bid on Monday, it won't be a hard number that we feel we can award. Therefore, it would be my recommendation to you, after a long subcommittee meeting with Steve, our buildings and grounds coordinators, and Dave, that we would recommend that we vote tonight. I would ask for you to vote that we pass over the Hastings article for the renovation of the ADA and the HVAC. We would then take the opportunity at town meeting to make a brief presentation indicating that we want this passed over until we can rebid the project in early September and have a number that's more advantageous and a timeline that we can implement that we could potentially bring to the fall town meeting. So we'll take advantage of the fact that the article is standing. We would call for it to be passed over in the motion, and we would present a brief summary of the next steps, so people have heard it at town meeting. Want to keep it on their front burner, recognize we're not saying we're not going to do it, we would be back, but only after we have a hard number. Questions and rounding out anything, Steve, that I missed?
So as was mentioned, these are qualified sub-bids that are required by Mass General laws, and the information that comes from the qualified sub-bids, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, et cetera. We got no bids, as was mentioned. So the problem there is that on the general bid opening, which Amber mentioned, is there is no qualified sub-bid for the contractors to use. That's not to say that they may not create a bid and offer an allowance for those items that were not bid. The issue there is that an allowance then is just that. If the amount of money needed to provide whatever that sub-bid was supposed to be is not a hard money dollar value. And as we have found in the past, it just doesn't make any sense to go before the town meeting without a number that you can sign a contract for and then require the job to be done based on that scope of work and that amount of money. We've been caught in recent years by anticipating the construction project cost to maintain some kind of semblance of what the estimate was. As we know, in this economy, starting from January of this year onward, the prices have been all over the map. And the biggest reason for that is that this stuff is not available in many cases, particularly if you've been to someplace like Home Depot, and if you wanted to buy a piece of black iron pipe, it's 3 times what it cost a year ago. Electrically, it's even worse than that because the majority of the electrical equipment that was purchased and used in the United States has been manufactured in Mexico. And COVID has really whacked that process and employers and employees in a cocked hat, and therefore their production in Mexico just doesn't exist. And so it's really an unknown, and I think perhaps the bidders, in recognizing not only the fact that they couldn't guarantee a price, but they really don't know when they would receive the material either, as Amber said. So I think it's in the best interest of the school committee, number one, to tell the public what our experience is by virtue of the presentation that we would give at town meeting, and then set, as Amber said, the process. Now, the thing to keep in mind, and this has been an issue for a while, is that we now have the engineering complete, that we have the drawings and we have the specifications, and now we have a process of the bid documents themselves, which did go out to bid. And so the dollars to rebid it in the fall, timely in the fall, so that we have a valid number to be awarded if town meeting votes the money, is relatively small money. And so certainly I recommend to the committee that we follow what has been suggested, that we pass over the article with, the discussion of how all this stuff transpired to the town meeting, with an understanding that we'll go out to bid again in the fall and complete the process, we hope. Perhaps by that time, the economies of different countries that make the products that we need will recover some, so that in fact there's a biddable amount of money and a schedule for the stuff to be delivered and installed. So anyway, that's my recommendation to the committee, and I would move that we vote to pass over this article as a result. There's further discussion?
You probably need a second.
Yeah, second.
Okay, so if no one else has more comments, then
I just wanted to ask Amber, how rare is it that 0 subcontractor bids?
I've never experienced it. That's the first time, so.
in my
pretty rare.
professional career, I've never heard of it. Never.
I've never heard of it either. And it's a combination of the length of time it's late to be doing bids that you want. That's it. They're all booked up, and the supply chain is just so long that they can't figure out when they can even do jobs right now, large jobs like this. I mean, small house jobs and stuff, they can do that and just pay more, but a large project like this, they need product up front. And so, I mean, I think the smartest thing to do is pass over and rebid it in September and see if we can come to October with a hard number, so.
And I guess to the extent that, let's say, under an event, it's a miracle that we do get a bid that could be hard number, that we could bring back to the town meeting this time. I don't suspect that will happen, but we do have a meeting prior to town meeting where the committee could reconsider this action. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so request a vote. All those in favor of the recommendation? 500, thank you.
All right, so certainly an unfortunate continuation of the complexities of Hastings. So I want to talk about the design dollar request to design the roof repair of Hastings. We have also an article, can you grab the number on that, please? We have an article to request design of the Hastings complete roof. I believe that article, even though we're on hold for the ADA work and the HVAC, I believe we should move forward and complete the design and engineering to repair the roof, such that if we face a failure, we have the design ready to go, and it would become an emergency repair, and outside of the ADA, we would be able to make a case that we have to do the roof. And I think and I'll put together a brief presentation with lots of pictures of lots of leaking roof so people can see that and understand that at some point it will fail, and it's already, quote, failing in that sense, and that, we're going to have to act on that roof soon. So that would allow us to have biddable documents to go out, and I would recommend that we move that forward. Do you have that number?
This is Mill Pond?
No, Hastings.
Hastings.
500,000 and something, I just don't remember.
504,000. It is,
Which is basically roughly 12% order of magnitude of what they think the total project would be. And we got that based upon the roof assessments that they came in and did to target where we were going to go. So engineering wise, we need the design, and that is a number that I think will get it done for us.
it's 504,000. It is Article 10.10.0.
So I would recommend we move forward with that. I'll put together a tight little sampling of why, and then we would bring that forward. The last article is the Mill Pond roof repair. That also should come forward. For those new to the committee, We did a study of all of our roof situations. Mill Pond is now 25 years old, and the roof, if we do this repair, which is basically a seal coat repair, they believe that we could get an additional 20 years out on that roof before we would have to have it redone. So it's definitely a cost-saving measure and allows us to push our capital request on roofs further down. And again, I think that's like, what is the number on that one?
132,000, and that's our Article 10N.
And that amount should move forward as well. I'll do a brief presentation on it and pull from the information you've probably already heard before, and we'll request those design dollars. And then capital for that would be requested at fall town meeting so that that repair could take place. So we would then take that out to bid and we would do design on it such that we could do it at the fall town meeting or the spring town meeting, and then that repair could be made. And they think that's under 2 million. So again, that's why our estimate's about 12% for the design.
So I think the school committee has voted in the affirmative to move these two articles forward, if my memory serves, but I guess I would ask a vote to reaffirm our position that they would be brought forward at town meeting. So that's my motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Question?
Sure.
I just am trying to understand, what do we anticipate is the life of the roof that we're trying to put the seal coat on to, extend its life? What is the current estimate of how long we think that it's going to last?
Yeah, so right now, the roof is original to its build, and it's 25 years old. It's definitely showing areas of fatigue. However, we take good care of our stuff. And they did an assessment that said that it was in good enough shape that it was available for the seal coat process. And after they apply the seal coat, they give us a longevity of an additional 20 years on the life of that roof. So as is, so you would do the $1.8 million seal coat process, which is a lot less than what it would be to do that roof, which would probably be up in the $5 or $6 million. Potentially, it's a big roof and a big building. So by doing the seal coat, their indication is we get almost a whole second life out of the length of the roof before we would have to do a complete repair on it.
Okay, but barring us doing the actual seal coat, what is the assessment on that?
Now my engineering skills have become incredibly developed over the years. We take incredibly good care of our roofs, and we keep repairing and patching, and you get a lot of life out of them. The high school roof, the whole front section's original. So a long time. I mean, we could, play the odds and just let it continue to age, but at some point you're going to have to start adding more extensive repairs, and you get into a cycle. It's got to have at least, if the longevity of our general roof care, what do you think, Steve? We probably would get at least another 8 or 10 years out of it before it escalates to more problem. But it's not a well-built building. Just going to say, the building company that did that particular bid, left some messes that we've cleaned up over the years, and the flashing wasn't done well, and the joints where the roof meets the edge of the building, and you aren't the same quality of a lot of our other buildings. So the chance that we could see more problems at Mill Pond is higher just because of the build of that original building. I think Steve was on that committee and sat hard on them to try to get good production out of them, but they definitely left some messes. So I consider it a more at-risk roof than you get at the high school, which I think was well built when they did it, so.
Yeah, a couple of things about roofs. In Massachusetts, we always get a warranty. Normally, the warranties are valid for about 15 years, so obviously it's 10 years beyond the, quote, assumed life of the roof. The second issue is, as Amber has said, is that we do maintain them as well as we can, but of course the substrate is the issue in terms of the life of the roof. This particular process that has been offered is a process that should save us a lot of money and buy us another 20 years on the existing roof. So the bottom line on this is that this is a new approach for roof restoration.
Okay.
And we'd like to see that, how it works, number one. But the bottom line on what's being asked for is that we get the engineering done so that we can then make a decision whether or not we need to do it immediately or whether we can wait some based on the condition of the roof at the time. So both this article and the earlier one that we're talking about is buying insurance for the town to be able to react when and if we have to do it, whether it's immediately as we had to do at Armstrong, or whether it's something that will buy us some more time before we have to make the investment. But I think all of us understand that the most important thing in the school beyond the building itself is the roof. And without it, there's an awful lot of problems that happen just as a result of a poor roof. And when we do it in an emergency case to resolve the thing, it becomes twice as expensive because we have to get it done off-season. We have to, in effect, beg for contractors to show up to do it. And, we're at a total disadvantage. So this process that we're talking about here in all of these articles is simply be prepared to be able to get the work done with all the technical information in hand, so that, based on the decision of not only the school committee, but let's say the Board of Selectmen to be able to react to a problem, this puts us ahead of the game in regards to that. So again, engineering for the work is not wasted money, and it's valid for a long time. And can be modified as needed at whatever time we decide to go forward with the work. I recommend that we should do it. And,
Dave and I will do a little research, and we'll go back to some of the consultants that have offered up different information on our roof repair and care, and make sure we get some strong talking points for what the actual process is. And I think we'll need to be able to we should maybe have him attend. I think we should make sure we can answer questions. I see that one because it's a different process, and we've gone to a lot of town meetings, and we can guess where we're going to take a lot of questions. And so every engineer in the place wants to stand up and quiz me, and I'm not an engineer. And so I think either we need to get our talking points from the engineer. Either Steve has to take the questions or we have the consultant come. So I think we need to prepare thoughtfully for that article. I think we've learned that if the one we think is going to be fine is the one that can take us down and, lead to looking like we're not prepared. So that's certainly an article where I think there'll be questions about it because it feels like a new process. And it feels like a new building, and that's why they feel like it's the newest building. We shouldn't be doing this, but you're already at 25 years on the roof. So,
just a comment on the quality of the building. Under Mass General laws, we're generally required to accept the low bidder who is qualified under the state bidding laws, which was the case for Mill Pond. At the end of the job, it was a real disaster. And in fact, the town took back $2.5 million in regards to the cost of the building because of the poor performance that was done at the time. One of the things that we're supposed to do for an outfit who reviews contractor performance is to give a score of quality, if you will, of the work they did. Yeah, I hear the echo here. So anyway, so the bottom line on this is that Massachusetts basically reacts to the qualifications of a contractor. If they get a score of 75 or better, they're allowed to continue. Our score for this guy was 25.
Yeah.
And
And I want to be
could not
clear,
go
it's a
forward.
beautiful building, and it functions for us wonderfully, and we have taken on the appropriate care and repair of things over the years. We had to do repointing, what they call repointing, of the pillars at the entrance all needed to be redone because they they weren't sealed properly. We've done drainage work up there. We've done other pieces because we understand how to assess and care for buildings. And so the building serves us beautifully and is gorgeous and is definitely, worthy of everything we wanted from it, but it just requires certain types of care. I think this is a good option, and I recommend that we continue to move forward with it.
I just have one question. Those 20 years, is that an estimate or is that a guarantee? Is there any period that's guaranteed?
I think they give you, I think it comes with a guarantee, but we'll have Dave, I think when they gave us the estimate, they said it came with a guarantee.
Yes, we'll have to get that for you, exactly. I'll find out for you as well.
And
We'll
another,
have to put it in the
Come from
PowerPoint.
the contractor, not from the engineer.
Yeah, I understand. Right.
Yep.
And
So we're
Steve-
not at that stage yet.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, one thing, you mentioned about the 10 years. Were you talking about shingles or were you talking about the work? 10-year warranty. The reason I bring this up is that I know
Warranty on both
that,
the work and the roof itself.
I know that now for residential, recently they have like lifelong guarantees lifelong guarantees. So I'm not sure how that in the commercial world, how that's
It's
applicable.
15 years normally. And, if you can find a guy who's out there after 30 years on your residential roof, good luck.
We've done- yeah,
Because
so-
that happens too, that they
Yeah.
disappear.
So these will be the items we'll kind of defend and explain at town meeting. This is helpful because when we're going through these questions, we're thinking of things we want to put into the slide deck presentation and things we need to ask so that we can answer questions. I think the capital articles come up fast and everything's packed in the beginning. So, between the budget discussion and the capital articles, the school's items are in early, which is advantageous. It's just that it also means we need to be well prepared because it happens really quickly. So we will start, again, I appreciate the vote on the, passing over the Hastings article and the two
haven't
roof
voted
project
yet.
designs.
Okay, we voted on the first one.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Keith.
and so now we have a motion and second on the other two to reaffirm the vote of the school committee to present these articles at town meeting. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Sorry. I'm so
Go
sorry. I just wanted to add that perhaps at the town meeting when bringing this up, it would kind of to say that it would be in our best interest to do this now, like we're doing sooner rather than later, because I'm sure many parents and families can remember the 2018 to 2019 school year, I believe it was, that Mill Pond had some construction and we had to delay the starting of schools. And although we don't expect to run into those issues at all, it's just something to keep in mind that things like that do come up. So it would be in our best interest to start early like we are.
Thank you. Yes, once you're doing emergency repairs, you lose control of the timeline. Exactly.
Just to clarify what I'm hearing, I just want to make sure I understand. So basically, we are bringing this forward to assess the viability of a seal coat to be applied, or whatever that process is, to increase the longevity, correct, of the roof. So this is
getting the paperwork organized.
It's the
to be able to-
design, it's the design dollars, right?
okay.
And because of the cost of the project, you have to do the design piece. Sometimes you can do a smaller project inclusive of one whole piece together, but because of the size of anything, I forget what the benchmark number is, we have to have design and then we have to bid it, and so we have to have the design dollars to go.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience with me.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just trying to
okay.
understand it.
It's good. This is warm up. This is how it works. I feel a little
Wanna get
stressed
the
right
vote.
now.
I want to get the vote before we go on and do all the rest of this stuff. So the motion's been made. So at this point, all those in favor? Opposed? 500, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Now we
I
can
feel
move on.
all the town meeting anxiety building. It was very effective. Thank you. I now feel very anxious.
And just something else I wanted to mention about these capital projects that come forward is there's a committee, and we work with other town partners to plan out these capital projects. So we have different building projects that will happen next year, the following year. So we look and see like, oh, at the high school, we need to do some HVAC, well, then the roof needs to change to support. So we kind of look and see when big projects are coming. So the big projects don't all hit at once. So it's like it's a puzzle too, to kind of figure out like what you bring forward when, what's the most pressing need, when can you shift things around. So it's constantly moving that stuff around.
So that's a great lead into what I was going to add at the end of the committee meeting tonight, but I'll add it now, which is I'll ask everybody to review the town charter and to review Mass General laws relative to the roles and responsibility of a school committee, because the things that you saw on the wall in terms of things that that we do as members of the school committee also are defined in the town charter. For example, what Kristen was talking about is the Capital Expenditures Committee, of which I serve on it, but certainly others could, which allows the school committee to be part of the way the town budgets money and what projects are listed in what order. And I can't remember how many people are on the Capital Expenditures Committee, but it might be 9. Member of the Finance Committee, member of the School Committee, member of the Board of Selectmen, member from the DPW, and so on. I think members of the town's Finance Committee. Finance, that's not the right term. Finance Department, I guess is what I want to say. In addition to the Finance Committee, also serve on that committee. And that's, that's how we build the budget. And each one of these things are important in their own way and in their own time. So things that we do also play into the other projects the town has, and the Capital Expenditures Committee ranks those items to be presented overall to the Board of Selectmen in terms of how the process is put together at town meeting. And then there's an oversight group as well that says, okay, this project is really big, it's beyond what the Capital Expenditures Committee can do, and then that's a Board of Selectmen choice as to how they pursue that and where the money comes from. Because ultimately, all of this fits into the budget, which then has an impact on our taxes, which is why we're all here. % of the tax bill for the town as members of the school committee. So it's pretty important when you actually think about what it is for the life of every citizen in the town. So my suggestion then is to figure out what we're supposed to do based on Mass General Law and the charter, because I think as Jacob said earlier, it's what you learn when you are a player on any committee in the town is how it all works. And what's really important is to be able to understand that so that you can be effective in the way we do our job, which makes it fun many times. It's also a lot of work. Timing. It's fun. Anyway, hope that that was information that you'll take to heart and do a little research, because it's nice to know, and it makes a big difference, I think, in how we each handle ourselves here, knowing the bigger picture, which most people don't. So for that, I think we're done with this item and we can move on.
I think Amber's thoroughly nervous enough.
I know, I'm over here wringing my hands. I get very anxious before town meeting. It's like a slow build. So an interesting item before us tonight that I'm very excited to present to you as a starting point. And I'm going to I gave you a memo, and actually, Daniel, I'm going to have you open my PowerPoint on the fridge project. I shared this memo with you, which was an outline of informational backup to what Rotary is planning, and it's one of their major initiatives as kind of a national organization. I sent you... Okay, that's fine, sorry. So Rotary is, the Rotary, well, he's getting our little slide deck here. Rotary has a mission around, service above self. It's a community organization, one of many, and they partner with different organizations in the town to provide a better community. what they're wanting to do is to, the way to catch up there. There you go. Thank you, Daniel. So they've come to us and they're seeking a town partnership. And I'd like to welcome this partnership and work with them to facilitate moving forward with a community fridge project. They've done the research on this and the data is compelling, as we know. And if you look at the fact that there's recent data around the fact that additional COVID money, which was providing supplemental income for people, is now terminating, many families are pushing closer to food security crisis with those dollars exiting their weekly money. Currently, we have over 158 individuals who are eligible for food at the pantry. We have others that we don't know about, but they choose to, stay private in their need. 3.4% of Westborough families live at poverty. You've got people in our housing units. Of all of the housing units in Westborough, we have a nice balance of renters and homeowners in single-family homes. We have 45 people who do not pay rent, who live in subsistent, subsidized supportive housing, and you have people that you can see are able to pay rent coverage that hopefully meets the needs of their financial capacity, but it leaves many of them with additional food insecurity. Based on the mission of Rotary, what they're seeking to do is develop this community fridge project where there are an opportunity to enhance and support the infrastructure of our pantry services. Over at one of our church communities in town, there is a free little food pantry that provides dry goods and other types of soups and things that are not perishable, but providing perishable goods would be an important enhancement. They take responsibility. It is their project and we partner with them, but they will make sure that it is cared for. They will make sure that the interior of the fridge is managed and that the whole site is part of their club responsibility. This is a project that's taking place across many communities, and I'm going to show you a couple pictures from communities on either side of us who have already done this.
I would also say it's very, it's happening now on college campuses too.
Yeah.
Like I know Clark University has one for students that are experiencing food insecurity while on campus.
I think it's, as we look at, developing communities that care for all, it's a project that certainly makes sense. And they have built the infrastructure for it. They've got the design, they've got the plan, they've got a timeline. The Rotary Club and other community members would be responsible for filling it and taking care of it and rotating out food that has expired, all of that. They're looking to mobilize this project in the spring so that there's care and support through the summer when many families obviously have more struggle based upon the fact that their schedules change for their children, and many families that get some additional food support through free and reduced lunch aren't always able to access a more regular rotation of food. So Shrewsbury currently has one, and so does Southborough. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit about those projects. This is Southborough's project, which they took from design on the left there, conceptual work through to completion. And they have both a dry goods section and then the perishable. You can see they've got the bags up top so that people can take a bag and take what they need. This is Shrewsbury's project. Again, cute design that's a little smaller, where they've got the fridge and they've got then a space and they've got the notes. Take what you can and leave what you are able to. And they've maintained this one for a while, I think quite successfully. What Rotary is hoping to do is to work with us. I would propose that we put together one of our favorite things, a subcommittee. Jack Foley's willing to work with me. Kelly, he has my principal representative, Kelly G. Capello, myself, and I would like a school committee member to join me and some Rotary members, and we will basically come up with just an implementation, review, and monitor plan. We're looking at a couple locations, which was the part that I wanted to kind of walk through with the principals and also with you. I would say my first choice of area is over at Gibbons, where the storage shed sits between it's in the back parking lot area between Gibbons and Armstrong. It has electricity available, it has lighting, it has kind of a layout where we could put a space against the wall there, and it would be very workable. I also like the Hastings area on the west side of that building, near the entrance of the school area. Again, we want places that are available, well-lit, organized and ready. We also talked about the Borough in the back parking lot area. I list that as number 3 just because we lease that building and it has more complications that would involve us having to kind of coordinate more to have other people involved. I'm not sure our landlord would necessarily, want that, and they're lovely and might be fine with it, but it just might add a layer of liability. And that's a pretty tight back parking lot area for us. So I kind of moved away from that one. We will discuss others in the subcommittee, but those are the pieces that I think would be required. I anticipate that this subcommittee would probably need 3 meetings to finalize plans and move forward. And we would then be able to implement and monitor, which would be the goal, to move forward with Rotary where there's other successful models we can draw upon that seem to be thriving, build that for our community, function in partnership, and then monitor implementation. So I guess I wanted to open it up for discussion and feedback, and hope to move forward to support this community project.
I think it's probably premature to basically say yes to this, but I'm certainly, as a member of the school committee, in favor of the approach. And I think when you work out some of the details so that, in fact, there's, a real discussion based on points and how it works and where it's going to go. And however we get to that point, I guess we just say, I would assume I'll ask, how many are in favor of moving forward with this?
I'm certainly in favor of moving forward with this. I like the project. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to forge a partnership. There's a need in the community, and then I also especially like that you're proposing forming a subcommittee so that the dignity of the individuals who are accessing the place is given some thought as to where it's located, and that all of the factors that go into thinking of an appropriate space that's ADA compliant, et cetera. I like that there's a subcommittee that's being formed. In fact, I'll volunteer.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll volunteer to serve on it. So, yeah, I'm definitely supportive.
Sarah?
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything not to support about this. I think we'd have to think about, so I see that you have a couple of different models there. If we're looking at Shrewsbury, it's sort of housed itself somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where that location is. And then Southborough looks like it's inside of some sort of building separately in a corner. I think that my only concern would be potential, the opportunity or potential for security concerns. So I would be much in favor of trying to keep it closer to the center of town, near where, and I'm not sure exactly what your thoughts were, but perhaps closer to where the police department is, or maybe behind. I'm not exactly sure, but that would be a little bit of my concern. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other discussion points? I think these are things that could flow back to subcommittee discussion. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great project. I'm a big supporter of this. I'm just curious about the relationship between this and the food bank. If that refrigerator could be closer to the food bank, perhaps, so people are going there already, they can visit 2 places at once. But that's something that can be discussed in the subcommittee. But
yeah, I think all of this is part of what it takes to forge partnerships and to move projects forward. I think Rotary, in terms of a dynamic organization, has certainly explored a range of partnerships and sought us out as a partner that they thought, could get it done with them. I certainly think one of the discussions on the subcommittee is maintenance, safety, monitoring, all those types of things. I mean, there's a whole array of things if you think about concerns. Like when you come into an interesting project that feels exciting, you have to put on your concern hat, you have to put on your legal hat, you have to put on your maintenance hat. I'm thinking, those are all the pieces, and you can certainly imagine that a subcommittee is really the appropriate place to get down into the granular there and to look at all the questions we have and to be willing partners with a window of piloting to say, like, this would be the things that would make us abandon this if it led to concerns. I think we also look at the research of what we're finding. A subcommittee can contact the Shrewsbury Rotary, which I think they've already done, and Southborough to hear kind of what's going well for them and where they've had any concerns. So I think it's a really robust subcommittee set of questions and work, and certainly a piece of that might be to have a discussion with, a partnership discussion with the pantry to see how we enhance and complement the work that they're already doing as a vibrant organization. They have hours of operation and then hours where somebody might need to access food where they're not available. I think Rotary's sense is that it's another layer of safety and protection for food insecurity, that when the food pantry isn't available or somebody struggles to identify through the food pantry that there are other options for them to get food. So I think they see themselves as a layer of additional safety net in this project.
Aristrico?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also agree with everyone. I think it's a great project, and it's definitely become an initiative that's becoming more and more commonplace, towns close to us. And like Ms. Bach mentioned, there's one at the YMCA. I was just going to say, in terms of the location side and preserving the dignity of the people that would be using these facilities, I would encourage perhaps talking to some of the leaders in the youth commission, the adult voting members, because they've done several drives and initiatives where preserving the dignity of the members and that are involved have been a central part of those projects, and I think they've done it really well in the past. So if coming to that procedure, maybe if that's part of the discussion in the subcommittee, I think that would be useful. And in terms of the processes, I would also encourage that, especially I know all the schools, but especially the schools for the elementary and Mill Pond, they run food drives all the time, and integrating this project with that might aid in not only the Rotary members contributing, but our community as a whole.
I agree. I think that we naturally are partners around the food drives. We are one of the larger collection avenues for the food pantry, the public schools, and it's probably why people think of us naturally as an avenue by which that partnership continues to serve all of that. Certainly something to be considered. I think it's a starting place. They came and they sought relationship, and we try to lean in and say yes when we can. And I think it could evolve where they might find a location they like better, but we're certainly willing to be participants in that. So Steve and I would move forward if that makes sense to form a subcommittee. Aritrika, I'm happy to have you. If you want to keep busy, you can come on in and join us.
That's right.
I'd love to have you, and you could overlap to youth commission.
I don't have to make up those snow days, so I can
That extra time.
So that would be great. I'm excited by this. I think it means a lot in our community. The overlapping partnerships remain something that's a really unique part of who we are. So we'll start, and I think trajectory-wise, we would come back to where Rotary would come, the subcommittee would come back and be able to present more detailed planning steps and be able to then seek kind of a final set of support.
Kristen?
Yeah, I'm fully in support of this. And I think the free little pantry has learned a lot, in thinking about where they set up and how it's stocked and how much it's used. I think it's great to have a refrigerator that would provide a different type of food outside of the food pantry, because the food pantry is only open like 2 days a week, very, very select hours. So if you can't get off of work and get there, you might be missing to get milk that week or something, or eggs. So I fully support this. And, if we can find a space on a school property with the electricity and the lights, like you said, I think I'm fully in support of this.
Certainly, they're willing to pay for the electricity. Maybe we can use some of our electrical credits to help them out as a part of contribution to the mission, but they're certainly willing to cover those costs. They're looking at true partnership. They would pay for all the building, all of that. So I feel like conceptually, given that Rotary has a larger framework beyond their individual community club organizations, they're part of a much larger, entity. I think these projects come forward with a lot of infrastructure support for them to problem solve. So they're drawing from a pretty wide base of people who have implemented this and have good things to say about, not leaning in on your fears about what might go badly, but leaning in on the opportunity it brings our community. Projects like this always take more work than we think.
Yeah.
They will have problems. There will be things that are deficit to it, and we have to decide that the benefits of doing what's right outweighs the concerns around the management of that. So, I am leaning in on the idea that we'll move forward and see what we can pull off.
Very good. Let's move on to the next item.
What do we got? Okay, so you're almost on home stretch here, and you're actually right on time, Chair Durrett. You're ahead of schedule. One of the things that Daniel Mayer and Sherry Stevens and many of our principals were interested in was expanding the range of collaborative opportunities we have for professional development and other types of work. We are active members of Aspet Valley Collaborative, which is an overlap, but as you know, Westborough sits kind of on a hub of a couple overlap with other collaboratives, and so we have some natural parallel and affinity to many of the districts of the Accept Collaborative. We have students that are actually placed with a couple of their programs for specialized support, and we attend a lot of their job alikes and PD work. So as we've gotten more engaged with Accept, we sought to become members, and they have accepted us in membership. And I think that one of the actions of membership, the drill, it becomes that you have to elect me onto the board, and I have to sit on 2 boards now. And Westborough will maintain membership in both collaboratives. It has financial benefit for us in that we get cost reduction to the placement of students and also PD, and, we'll see what they have available for us in terms of advantageous transportation work. Certainly our contract now with NRT encapsulates van pool for our transportation of our vans, but it would give us another option, another organization where we could swing that contract over to Accept if we ever found it to be more advantageous. So we're just diversifying our options. So at this time, we made a proposal to join. I attended, made a presentation. All of the school districts in the Accept Collaborative have accepted us and voted us at their school committee member meetings, and they would like to move forward to welcoming me to their board. So you would need to take a vote to accept me onto their board, or to, I guess the actionable item is to place me on the Accept board.
Do they have a website that we could research? Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
I can send it to you, and I can provide it as part of an update as we move forward. Daniel's certainly really engaged with what they offer, and we would provide an update to make sure that you feel we get significant value from it. It's actually less expensive than Aspet Valley Collaborative's membership, and quite cost affordable, and we will see savings from what we access through it.
Okay, rather than take action tonight, I'd like to do a little research. I think on behalf of probably all of us would want to find out, what the pros and cons of joining this group, and how it meshes with Aspet Valley as well. Mm-hmm. So those, I guess, are my general questions. Perhaps everybody else has their own ideas as to what we need to know.
Sorry, what does the acronym stand for? Sorry, I just want to, I think we need to do a little bit more research, maybe.
I mean, I certainly can send it to you, definitely. They did a presentation at the Tri-County Superintendent's meeting just recently, and they had a very a good slide deck, and I can just email Donna and ask her to send it to us. I'll share it to you, and you can look at the range of services they have available.
Probably have a goal and a general statement of their purpose, and all that stuff. So if it's on their website, that's.
Yeah, no, we can, I'll send you, Daniel will prepare, since I have to sit on the board, Daniel will prepare the proposal and send you the email link to the website as well as a little information around membership.
Yeah, it's accept.org. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not real hard.
So,
but I would want to pull Donna's, the director's slide deck though, and send it to you, which they just presented. I think I value what Aspet Valley Collaborative has provided for us. We have a lot of like-minded overlap to the districts that fall into the Accept Collaborative and often collaborate with them actively. And I think it provides an alignment with districts that have similar budget issues, concerns, and lobbying. You know, that's the Tri-County group that invited me to attend the state lobby mission with Lisa at the State House in Newton. So, again, I think it's a little bit more politically active group. It's got different types of things from Aspet Valley Collaborative, and together they provide 2 enhancements for us. So, again, I think worthy of me putting in another set of meetings, so we have access to that. So I'll send that to you, and then I would hope to get your vote to move me to the board so that I could attend their meeting in May. So they have a May 24th board meeting that I would be hoping to fold into.
I think from a schedule point of view, if you can do that, we could take up that vote before town meeting in our meeting that we have scheduled for that purpose.
Okay. So we'll send that to you and we should be good. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is executive session. Before we consider that, first of all, do we have things we're going to talk about in executive session?
I do not believe that we need an executive session this evening.
Okay, that's good. One of the other things that I thought of and I immediately forgotten, but it has to do with procedures associated with school committee and the things that are important. We, as a member of and a Massachusetts school district, are members of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. And for our new members, they do put on a course of, for you to attend, and I think generally it's in Cape Cod, right?
It's an orientation session. So one of the things that we'll do after we clear town meeting is set up a meeting and we can do a brief orientation, and Andrea will provide information for you to look at attending one of their trainings. I think, Steve, you've been to one recently. You went, I think.
Virtually.
Yeah. So they provide orientation materials to the role and responsibility of being a school committee person. So
Yeah,
we'll
it's quite
provide.
helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps to give you the depth of the process and things you need to know so you don't stumble, and not so much here because we can all make mistakes, but it's nice to know the backing of why we do what we do and where it comes from. The rights and responsibilities of the school committee were defined in Mass General Laws in 1993, and it changed the perspective of how school committees deal with the school administration. And to the extent that you'd like to do that kind of research, I suggest that you can find that in Mass General Law, and it's available on your web browser. So, whenever you have a question, do some research. You'll find out there's probably an answer for it. So anyway, thank you. And I think with that, if we're not going into executive session, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Want to second that, Jacob?
I second.
There you go. All right, all those
You're in the
favor?
minutes now.
Aye. Thank you all. The meetings will get much longer, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks a lot.
Steve, you need a gavel.
Pardon?
You need a gavel.
Well, I don't use gavels, okay?
There you go.